So I'm always getting emails from people saying, hey, I'm trying to buy a truck, but GMC has nothing in stock, Ford has a waiting list, Toyota has nothing, waiting list. What can I buy? Well, when Ram sent me this truck to buy, it gave me an idea to go down to the local Dodge dealer. I was very, very surprised. Several months ago, I visited this Dodge dealer. They had 180 Rams in stock. And I came by today. They got something like 200 in stock. Look at all these Rams. Up to $4,000 off. It was the same way when I visited 3 months ago. Look at all these. So if you can't find your GMC, Chevy, Toyota, or Ford, maybe you should check out your Ram dealer and just go with them. It's not really a bad truck. That's what we're driving tonight, and that's why we're able to do this video. Checking my email, seems Ram is sending us a 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab 4x4. Let's take a look at the price tag. Alright, starts at $44,900. That seems reasonable enough, but as we all know, they're going to load it up with every option on the planet. You end up with a price tag like this, so let's look at some of the options. I won't go over them all, the video will be way too long, but do a quick e-look. Here we have a lot of technology, electronic packages we really don't need. Just more stuff to go wrong when the warranty goes out. But on the other hand, we have some things I would order. The backcountry package for 4x4 fans. They're going to really take this off-road. Got some good stuff here. Here's a bunch of other fluff we really don't need. Let's scroll down and 3.92 rear axle. Yeah, we need that. The 5.7 V8 Hemi with the eTorque engine, $22.95. If you're towing a lot of stuff, you might need that. The air suspension, you don't need it, but sure comes in handy. We'll show you why later on in the video. And here's your government 5-star safety rating and where it's made. So let's go to the warehouse and take a look. By the way, if you want to look at the competition, we did a video on the 2022 GMC Sierra 6.2 liter. Loaded up with everything. And we also did a video on the new Chevrolet engine 2.7 liter turbo. We'll have a link for both of these videos at the end of this video. Just go to the end, click and watch. Okay, here we are. Let's roll out the vehicle and see what it looks like. I'm sure it's a big one. Probably won't be able to fit it through the door. Yep, it's a big one, alright. With a big horn emblem, sorry, I know you forked up the extra money. And the 4x4 emblem, sorry, well, I know you're going to pay a lot of gas money to keep this thing running. In our case, a Michigan plate. Shipped it all the way from there just for us. And let's check out these tires. 275/55 R18 113/1105. Where's that an S? Falkland, never heard of them. I don't know that much about tires. Maybe some Korean or Chinese stuff. I'll have to look that up. Maybe you will. Several things we do when we first get a vehicle. First we check and make sure there is a spare tire. Most cars and SUVs I've been getting, there isn't. Haven't seen too many trucks that don't. Yeah, there's one under there. You have to get a bit dirty to get to it. There are a number of engines you can get with the Ram, starting with the V6 305 horsepower, getting to 2025 MPG and two-wheel drive, or 19 to 24 and four-wheel drive. Next up is the 5.7 V8 Hemi, 395 horsepower, 410 foot-pounds of torque, 15 to 22 MPG with an average of 17. And there's another version of 5.7 V8 Hemi called the eTorque. Use an electronic motor system to boost up horsepower from 395 to 411, the torque from 410 to 540. And there's a fuel economy increase, 18 to 22 MPG. 19 overall versus 17 for the other 5.7 V8. Alright, on the positive side, it gives you more torque for pulling ability, thumbs up. But it costs $2,300, so if you're buying this to get fuel economy advantages, forget it. Take too long to pay for itself. This is for somebody who pulls heavy loads and doesn't want to go to the cost of getting a diesel. So if you're pulling heavy loads, this might be for you. If you're not and just using the truck for general transportation, there's really no reason to buy this. Take your choice. Oh yes, and I mentioned the other thing we do when we get a vehicle, so I'm checking to see if there's spare tires, to check the headlights, take them out in the dark, and do some night driving. We'll be doing that in part 3 of this video. If you haven't seen our night drive video on the Ram already, separate video on YouTube. It'll be here if you want to see it. If you were paying attention to the price sheet I showed you earlier, this has the optional air suspension. It's a couple grand of the price tag, controlled by this button here. It has 5 settings. You have the 8.7 inches for normal driving, 8.2 for lower. For off-roading, 9.7 or 10.7. So you clear those big rocks. And supposedly there's a super low system that lowers it 2 inches for getting in and out. For all the old folks who don't want to crawl in a truck, or short people. If you're doing an awful lot of off-roading, I think this might be worth the money. If you don't, maybe not. As always, the choice is yours. One thing this truck has, a lot of vehicles are getting now, these fuel filler systems that most truck owners know just sucks. If you run out of gas and try to put some fuel in the tank from a gas can nozzle, won't fit, need a special adapter. I think there's one in the truck somewhere, that someone stole it, I can't find it. These are nothing but a headache, very expensive to fix, but it's a sign of the times. Alright, let's go in the cabin. Lots of good features here because Ram has spent a lot of money making their cabins look nice. First, we have a sun visor that slides back and forth to keep the sun out. That's good because it's 107 degrees today and very humid, and I'm melting as we speak. A large glove box. The optional 12-inch screen with all the stuff on it. I never really cared for these on pickup trucks. Makes you wonder how durable they are if you're doing a lot of off-roading, but it's optional, you don't need it. Alright, for gear shifting we get a knob, which I like. Better than having a shift lever get in the way. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive low for the dirt, 4-wheel drive high for the dirt. 4-wheel drive automatic for the pavement. Comes in very handy if you live in an area where there's a lot of rain and snow and ice on the roads. Real lifesaver. This turns off the start-stop system. I think you already know what that is. The rear axle lock. This is a pretty nice setup. A nice gauge cluster, and in the middle telling us what our tire pressures are. You have to have this on a truck that's going off-road. And in between the seats, a giant storage bin. You put a lot of stuff in there. And I forgot you get a second glove box up here. Good place to hide stuff. A lot of these break in your truck, they won't think of looking in there because they don't know it's a glove box. Looks like an airbag cover. And since this is the Monster double cab type, or crew cab as they call it, a lot of room back here. The only complaint I have on this particular truck is this black cabin that heats up like an oven. It doesn't really look that sharp. I'd rather have a tan color or something else, but that's me. And here's our tire repair kit I take with me everywhere. Part 1 of the video show and tell is over. Part 2 we're going to do some driving and some off-roading. One, I have a heads-up display here. You can hardly see it. There we go. I'm still trying to find out how to turn that off. Don't need that nonsense. It's a gimmick. And number 2, you see the reflection. Apparently there's no way to turn off the headlights off in the daytime. If I want headlights on, I'll turn them off. I want them off. I want them off. I certainly don't want these on if I'm camping and running the engine to charge the battery. And we'll talk about that in the night video. Oh, wait a minute. I found out you can turn off the daytime running lights. There we go. That was easy enough. Just got to spend some time on the menu. If you would try and turn yours off, now you know how. So does this eTorque modification on the 5.78 provide all the extra torque and acceleration advertised? Other people testing these say yeah, 0 to 60 in close to 6 seconds. Let's give it a go. Some little bit of wheel spin back there. Well, it's no dog, that's for sure. Decent brakes. When it comes to the advertised fuel economy, obviously 18 in the city versus 15 for the standard 5.7 sounds pretty good, but other individuals who've been testing this setup are getting more like 14 to 15 in the city driving. This one, since it's been in the fleet, getting around 13.3. And with me, in stop and go short trips, just a wee bit less. Wow. That's pretty close to the GMC I had a few weeks ago with the 6.2 V8 getting 10.7. So yay, we're a little bit better here, but not by much. We got a lot more driving coming up in this video, so we can bump these numbers up. But with me, we get the real world figures, not the phony EPA stuff that other YouTubers do. The Ram has a reputation as being the smoothest riding truck on the market, and it's definitely true. I've driven plenty. But this air suspension is supposed to be even better. Let's find out. Gonna take some mild speed humps of 15 to 20 miles per hour. Bump number 1. You hear those tires thumping, but you don't feel too much. Here comes number 2. And here comes number 3. With the big nasty one coming up at the end. Smooth enough for me. By the way, the power steering system's pretty good. Not too heavy, not too light, pretty responsive. Precision-wise, about all you can expect out of a pickup truck. I don't think there will be any complaints. This is a very comfortable truck to drive on the street. Smooth, quiet. You can rack up a lot of miles without fatigue. That's the positive side. But of course, you're driving a monster the size of the Titanic, so changing lanes can be a problem. Got to make sure you're not running somebody off the road. That's why we have these giant mirrors. And fitting this into a tight parking space isn't fun, but that's just the price you pay for any large truck. I'm going to take a highway trip, and I reset the gas mileage computer back to 0 to see what type of fuel economy we're going to be getting. And on this trip we will be going slightly uphill, elevation of 1,500 feet to start, around 5,000 feet to end. So naturally we're not going to be driving on flat ground, and we won't be getting the best fuel economy figure, but we'll get what we get. By the way, this is a very smooth highway cruiser, especially with the air suspension. All Rams are nice on the highway and comfortable with this one even more so. If you take a lot of long trips, this might be the truck for you. I will say one thing positive about this eTorque system. If you're climbing steep hills, it definitely kicks in and you definitely feel it. Plenty of torque, no problem at all. So you live where there are a lot of mountains and you're climbing hills like I am on a daily basis, this is definitely a system you would want. Okay, 108 miles traveling uphill from an elevation of 1,500 feet to approximately 5,500 feet. 15.4 mpg. Slightly better than the Toyota Tundra with the 5.7 V8 I was driving earlier. And slightly less than the Ford F-150 with the 2.7 EcoBoost at 17 mpg. So we're somewhere in the middle. We'll be making a return trip going downhill, all the way down to the original 1,500 feet elevation, and we'll take that figure and this figure, divide by 2, and get our official highway mileage. So don't go away. Well, 15.5 going up, 19.5 coming down. Lost a few points because I pulled over and stopped, so that's 17.5 on the freeway thus far. We're going to take this beast off the pavement, and first thing we're going to do is how the suspension performs on this road with all these nasty washboard ripples. You really shake up a truck, especially going at high speed. Normally on this section of road, you have to slow down to around 15 to 20 miles per hour on a conventional truck because these nasty washboard ripples would tear your suspension apart if you went quicker, but unless you were driving a Ford Raptor or Ram TRX, that is. But on this truck, I'm actually doing around 50 miles per hour and not feeling any impacts at all. Doing better than the Raptor, actually. If you're in the habit of driving on roads like this quite often, this air suspension is definitely worth the extra cost. Amazing how smooth it is and how fast I'm going. This is a big rig that might not fit on some narrow trails, but as a positive side, you have the air suspension that can be raised up quite a bit and going off rough trails like this. So let's do it. I want to retract these mirrors, but I don't see a button on the door to do that. I think we'll have to do it by hand. Just have to get out again. I prefer smaller trucks when going in the back boonies, but at least in the Ram, with this setup, you're doing it in total comfort. So what's my take on this Ram after a week of driving? Well, this air suspension is definitely nice. If you're driving on rough roads, it's certainly worth the money. As far as spending the extra $2,200 for this eTorque system, on the negative side, I can tell you I've driven all the Rams over the years, and as far as fuel economy, I don't see any difference between the standard 5.7 and this eTorque. I got pretty much the same mileage as I did in all the others I've driven. But it really doesn't matter because no one's going to spend that much money just to save 1 or 2 miles per gallon of gas and never pay for itself. The main advantage of the eTorque system is, well, extra torque, extra pulling ability, and if you're in the habit of towing loads like a boat, a trailer, or heavy stuff in the bed, it's definitely something you would want to buy. Works great. For those not pulling heavy loads, you really don't need it, but maybe you just want it to have the extra power anyway. In that respect, I say go ahead. And as far as the rest of the truck, I have no complaints. Very nice rig, if you can afford it. And that includes our main test. If you want to see the headlight night drive test, it's coming up right now. We already did a separate video of that on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, you can see it now. So when I first got this Ram, I had a few things that were bothering me. Number one, we had daytime running lights, which means anytime the engine's running, you cannot turn the headlights off at all. And number two, I had an auto-dimming mirror, and I couldn't find a way to turn it off either. I don't like auto-dimming mirrors, especially if you can't turn them off. And I had a heads-up display in the windshield. I couldn't find a way to turn it off, but you don't see it now, do you? Because, yes, there is a way you can turn it off. And there is a way you can disconnect the auto-dimming mirror. And yes, there is a way you can turn off the daytime running lights, but it's temporary, apparently. You have to reset it every time you start the car. But as long as you can turn it off when you want to, that's okay by me. The dimming mirror can be turned off right here on the screen. Some of these things can be turned off on the gauge cluster by pushing buttons on the steering wheel. And other things, like the auto-dimming mirror, can be turned off on the large computer screen. So all three of these things can be turned off if you don't like them. So we're off to a good start. So with that being said, let's check out the headlights and the taillights. Got a little bit of dust on it because we did some four-wheeling today. Check out the emergency lights, easy to see even with the taillights on. Got some flashers on the outside mirrors. Not very easy to see with the headlights on, that's for sure. There, much better. Definitely better. And I see I have the bed light on for some reason. Things got a lot of buttons and switches and gadgets, so it takes a while to learn everything. So as you can see, we have a large info screen, and this touchpad does a bunch of other stuff too. Shift mechanism is a knob on the dash, easy to see, lights up well. So does the gauge cluster. Put it in reverse, and this is what you see. It's not very clear because apparently it got too much dust on it when I was four-wheeling today, but in spite of that, the clarity is pretty good. A good wide spread, too. Now to the headlights on a wall 33 yards away or 100 feet. Very, very bright, good height because we're over the bushes. Let's go to high beam. Very, very strong in the middle. Not much of a wide spread, but definitely the center's where you need it the most. Especially if you're out in the sticks four-wheeling. Let's try the side street, slow beam. Wow, really reaches down to those signs. Very strong in the middle. Yes. And let's see how these high beams light up the street signs on the freeway. Yeah. All the way down there. That's about a half a mile. Definitely powerful. Definitely these are very potent high beams. I don't think anybody will be complaining.